Every room you enter is a chance to create opportunity, impact, and connection. But if you don't know how to show up with power and presence, then you miss your moment. And this eats me up because honestly, too many brilliant people are shrinking in rooms they were meant to shift. I'm Erin Cole. I'm the founder of Heartbeat Communications. I am a communication strategist, a storyteller, and a professional MC. And I've been on more than 500 professional stages. And this is what I know. Let me tell you what I know. The same skills that you use to command a stage are the same skills that you use to show up and own any room. Welcome to the Owning the Room podcast. And I hope you enjoy this episode. Many of us do not know or recognize the depth and complexity of our own histories, the sacrifices that our ancestors made just to get by to the next day, good and bad. But what they did lives on in the businesses that we create, the art we make, the stories that we tell. My own grandfather, he fought on the front lines of the civil rights movement in Memphis, Tennessee, and he told me, Erin, never show up in a room that you don't leave an imprint in. Be unforgettable. That is actually how I live my life, and it's the genesis of this podcast, Owning the Room. And my guest today does just that in her work, Miss Renata Henderson. She is the co-founder of Cxffeeblack, which is a social enterprise that aims at reclaiming the story of coffee in our world. She works tirelessly to make sure that people know that coffee has its roots in Black hands, and she works to make sure that it has a future in Black hands. And she's actually the first female Black coffee roaster from Memphis, Tennessee. Hey. Who does that? So y'all, please put your virtual hands together for my guest today, Miss Renata Henderson. Renata, girl.
Virtual hands.
Yes.
That's new. I love that.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm actually getting energized being here and talking. Yes, talking to you.
Good energy.
I love this energy drink.
Proverbially, you know?
Proverbial energy drink. No, yeah, I am. And yeah, I really feel blessed. I really do.
Good.
I cannot complain.
So you and your husband co-founded Cxffeeblack, Bart. Mm-hmm. And Bart got like 17 names. Bart.
We can do a podcast on that alone.
Okay. But you all were educators first, right?
Yes, okay, yes.
So what has been the journey to creating Cxffeeblack?
So we both were educators in middle schools here in Memphis. We both had, that's again, another podcast, okay? I was sixth grade science. He was middle school language arts. So all of the, he's very wordy and good with all the words. Mm-hmm. And so we get to the end of 2019. This is the condensed version, of course, but we're helping with a performing arts school in South Memphis, and the school ends up losing funding. And so we had already introduced the concept, which I'll kind of give you the background about that as well, but we had already introduced the concept of Gucci Mane. And by the time we get to 2019, the school loses funding. My husband is out of a job. I'm home with our boys. We're talking and my husband says like, hey, I think this coffee thing could actually take off. What you think?
Context, Gucci Mane.
Gucci Mane is our coffee. It is our flagship. It is the star of Cxffeeblack. So we had already introduced it. The question basically was from my husband being in coffee shops during his college years, going and visiting and seeing all these different origins, Guatemala, Ethiopia, Colombia, and not seeing those people represented in the space. And so the question that came to his mind was, okay, I brought my friends here and they don't like it. I brought my family here and they don't feel welcome. So like, do Black people still drink coffee? And so Coffee Black was the answer to that question. Basically, the answer was a resounding yes. And similar to the story about your grandfather, I think a lot of people actually have stories about coffee in their families. And that's everywhere we've been. And it's usually around grandparents or great grandparents. I don't know. It's just, it's like a tie that binds us. It's like everybody has that story, ironically, around coffee. And so, that got us into the space. I bought my husband way before this. I noticed that he was obsessed with coffee. Our first year of marriage, I bought him an espresso machine. And so he always calls me his
he's
first.
He's always been a coffee drinker.
He's always been a coffee drinker. He says I'm his first investor. My experience with coffee was with my grandfather, back to that, thread. And he would give me coffee when I was like 5. And I loved it.
The question was it Folgers?
It was 100% instant Folgers, 100% full of sugar and full of cream.
You know you black if your grandmama had a Folgers canister, 100% turned into a jewelry box.
And it got turned if it got turned into anything.
A bag for the plastic bags. A can for the plastic bags in the kitchen.
If it got repurposed. Another conversation is Black people have always been sustainable, but that's another conversation. We've always been good for the environment, but we're not ready for that.
We have to be resourceful.
Yeah, we've always been sustainable.
100%. So it was just kind of like this thing. It's in you. It ain't on you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So you said something about the school needed money. So did you use coffee to raise money for the school, or what?
The founder of the school ended up losing funds through. I don't remember who the entity was that she used, but she basically was just like, hey, either we have to recruit like this many kids. And this, South Memphis is very historical. People don't want to start a new school when you got Hamilton, all the classic legacy schools. So she was saying either we have to recruit more kids or we have to close. And it was a middle school, so people weren't going to pull their kids out in the middle of the track. Whatever they had them based
so the
in.
transition was the school you were at was closing.
The school was closing, The school lost funding and was closing. So
you had to find
We had to, So he was working there. I was home, but I did a lot of work with the school. And so we didn't. It wasn't a connect. It was more of, wait, we've been doing this Gucci Mane Coffee Black thing on the side. And actually, Comeback Coffee is where we introduced Gucci Mane for the first time in 2018. And that's when we saw 80 to 90% of the people who ended up buying the coffee or bought it at that day at the event were Black young professionals. So it was really cool, between like 21, 35-ish in age. And so we got the question answered. And after we had, of course, COVID hit in 2020, March. Rest in peace, March 2020. I don't know what happened that year. Yeah, so time, for sure. It was rough. And George Floyd was assassinated, and my husband posted he had already introduced Coffee Black as a concept to the world, and so he posted, "Love Black people like you love black coffee." And it was just as solidarity, just to say like, hey, we get to enjoy the fruit of Blackness, but nobody ever wants to suffer with, nobody ever wants to sit in the Blackness,
Ooh, that's so deep, because coffee is a fruit, right?
Double entendre. However you say, I don't speak French, but, and that was the analogy. It kind of unfolds in multiple ways. Coffee as a beverage, people generally add things in before they even taste the notes, because that's what you were told when it was first introduced. And it's the same with Blackness I can't take you as your full Blackness. I have to say, oh, Aaron, you're one of the good ones, or you're educated, you speak so well, versus just taking you as...
Do not say that to me. I'm just going to put it out there now.
I can imagine your responses.
Because I'm going... This is another podcast episode. Yeah. But when I am faced with those situations where someone is just culturally unaware, I am going to address it.
You have to be taught. You have to teach the people.
My calling to own the room. You do it not just on a stage, you do it in conversation.
100.
And even if it is exhausting, it's exhausting for many Black people to kind of tell you why you shouldn't do this or say this. And it's not exhausting to me.
So
I got time
when I get exhausted, I'm calling Aaron and say, hey girl. But that's kind of where we met the conversation for Coffee Black is we're willing to have the conversation, specifically in the area of coffee. Coffee was discovered 850 BC in Ethiopia. BC. We're talking about in Ethiopia. We're talking about before Jesus was born, in a country in Africa. So discovered, they had the culture of coffee down packed. So this isn't something new to anybody who's Ethiopian. Coffee is just a part of life.
Because there's a whole Ethiopian ritual for coffee.
Yes, their culture revolves around coffee, literally. Coffee, they have a song they sing, I don't know the words, but it's like na 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 buna buna na 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 buna buna, which means that somebody translated it for us and they said it means, what is our life force? Coffee. What do we work for? Coffee. It's basically, because buna means coffee, so it's kind of like a call response type thing, but it's basically like, what is our life? What does our life revolve around? Coffee, because coffee is their culture. And of course, it's stolen, it's taken, it is shared as gifts with the Spanish and with the French. And of course, after that, it becomes a cash crop. And so when you steal a good, the problem is when you steal a good, you don't steal the culture that goes with it. And so coffee became a good instead of a lifestyle. And so now coffee's so disconnected, and that's why the question was, do Black people still drink coffee? Because I'm going in all these places that are literally whitewashed.
Yes.
Like the walls are whitewashed, the bathroom, the music, all these different things. And so you get to a point where you're just like, wait, this should be a conversation, like this should be a conversation.
And by whitewash, you mean there's no Black presence?
I say in all ways, all the way to the physical space being actually white. And you come to Coffee Black, our walls are full.
Yeah.
Maximalist to the max. Yes,
it's not a minimalist look.
It's not.
It's colorful.
And it's purposeful because we relate to that. Like we go back to, I can say every Black person has one person in their family who has some dusty pictures on their walls, some dusty fake plants, whatever it is. But there's a comfort in a home. There's a comfort in a living room. There's a comfort in the,
It's making me think back to you talking about Black people always being sustainable because we did not always have the resources. Our mothers, our grandmothers, great grandmothers, they kept everything they had because they didn't know when they were going to get anything else.
They did, and we liked it. That's where we ate our Frosted Flakes growing up. That's where we watched Rugrats, And so, it just, so all that to say.
And the Young and Restless.
And the Young and the Restless went in the story after Price is Right. Price is Right was my show. But that is a part of that legacy. Like, I think that is a simple way to honor that legacy in the physical space. When it was first discovered, there's a farmer named Caldy is the legend. So there's like an urban legend around how it was discovered. And the farmer, he was a herder, and he had goats, and the goats would come back to him at certain parts of the day, and they would just be jittery. And so he's like, what in the world is happening to these goats? And so he went out and he found coffee cherries. And they had been chewing on the coffee cherries. And so he took them, and initially they took the cherries themselves and roasted them, and they would just kind of eat them. And then there was a Black woman, Ethiopian woman, who said, what if we take the seeds out of this and roast the seeds? Because you're going to get, so Black women are the world's first baristas, world's first roaster, So
wow. So for you to be the first in Memphis, kind of like it literally reclaiming that history.
And that's the big. I think that's for me. It was. So this was 2021 when I first started, and at the time the coffee scene in Memphis was rather small, and it still is small. And so it's pretty easy to know, who's the first of anything. So we got Dr. Beans, who's the first Black roaster. He's an actual doctor, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know
He's an actual doctor. So the dude is like smart. And so I knew he was the first. We knew he was the first African American roaster in Memphis, and we, knowing the coffee circuit, there were no Black women. Period. Just in the coffee scene. Period. Which, let me rewind. That may be an overgeneralization, but on the side of producing, producing the goods and roasting and all that kind of stuff. And so when I learned and I found out, dang, Ethiopian women actually were the first roasters on the planet. there was a part of me that almost felt it was too big for me. You know, like those are big shoes to fill. And I'm like, did I sign up for this? But it was like, it was very much so the trajectory that I often find myself in. It's just like, you know, it's a first, but it is, it's like, whoa, how did this happen? It's a first, but it's like, it's a very honoring first, you know? Absolutely. Yeah. And it's in line.
So Cxffeeblack recently raised about $500,000, $500,000
on WeFunder.
In what?
So that was our crowdfunding.
Fully funded.
Fully funded. So on our crowdfunding platform, we raised $500,000. Outside of it, we had independent investments that were between $400,000 to $500,000. So together, almost $1 million. Yeah.
You raised $1 million. Okay, so I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
It's kind of crazy. Coffee is, I didn't look this up, but I'm sure it's $1 billion industry.
It is a $465 billion industry.
$465 billion?
Producing countries in Africa get less than 1% of that $465 billion.
Here's where I'm exhausted.
She's tired again. Isn't it crazy?
I will just be responsible for the conversations, okay? Just y'all do that work.
Oh yeah.
Okay, now it's a $465 billion industry.
Yes.
And Black people, created by Black people are only experiencing a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. I don't know that. I do know of a few other Black coffee roasters and companies, but there's such a minority. It's one thing to have a good product, which they do. I love the coffee. I love the brown sugar, the yams. A good product and get paid for the service, exchange, you know? But it's another thing to get people to invest in a vision. Yeah. Where I'm sure your investors get some kind of exchange, but there's not this direct, immediate exchange of the coffee or something they can see immediately. For sure. How do you show up and own the room in a space that where you are a minority, a deep minority, and reclaim something that you already owned? and granted, it's for us, right? It is. The coffee that the Ethiopian woman, produced, it was for us. Yeah. But the powers that be come in and make it for them, take it away from us. Now we got to reclaim it back to us. And then once we do that, it can be for us. 100%. It's crazy. How do you show up and own the room in that space to get people to invest in a vision?
My strategy generally is what we're doing now. So I love to work with people's curiosity, but I also show up very much so myself. And so people see me like parenting my children. People see me doing operational work. People see me in the spaces that I already am in. And in addition to that, it's the stories. So I share a similar story with you, whereas my grandfather was a part of the sanitation strike. And he marched with Dr. King. This was in 1968. And the legacy that he brought into our family from that year forward was one of dignity, was one of faith in Jesus, and was one of sharing and reverberating a story that expands the Black race and humanity in general. So when I'm in these spaces, it's storytelling. It's connecting one-on-one. You're never going to see me say, hey, everybody, welcome to the blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I'm going to talk this whole time. I do have the ability to do that. Don't get me wrong. I have the skill set. But where I enjoy and where I thrive is in the non-broadcasted conversations. I
believe the storytelling is the basis. I say it all the time.
100
transformation.
100.
I'm not going to morph into this new thing.
Yes.
Until I can see myself in the new thing.
100.
The only way I see myself in the new thing is you tell me a story.
Think about it.
Paint the picture.
Think about how stories have been passed down. Yeah. How do we know anything about the past? Is it was told and eventually it was written down.
So you show up and own the room and the space that you're reclaiming through storytelling.
Through storytelling.
Simply put, I love that.
Yeah.
So speaking of, I got this out.
Flashback. That's that's
She from Memphis sweatshirt. Renata made this. She's a maker. She makes things.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day and going to like listening parties. Her husband, she sings, he raps. They're into music, and so he would do like a listening party with coffee. Just a kind of really cool concept. How has your creativity, your passions, and other things helped fuel the success of Cxffeeblack?
Yeah, I actually get to use a lot of my creativity in our branding. So I design all of our coffee bags. So any labels you see, the Gucci Mane label, that's me, the logo. I'm able, so this is a very specific example. Our gasket broke on the espresso machine, and I used my laser machine to print a new gasket. Did I know what a gasket was? I didn't, but I found it out the other day. It's literally just like a little rubber ring.
I love the resourcefulness.
It's so fun. I love doing that.
It's such like a nod to our ancestors.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
Talk about just like, what do you have here?
Yeah. And how can you
how can you show up with what you already have and use that?
And I often say my mom kind of put me in this position because anytime we went to the store and I saw something I liked, she said, Renata, you can make that. You can make that at home. And I would go home and make it. And I was like,
see your mom doing this right here.
She did. You can make that. It was the hand too. It was the hand. And so, yeah, it is a nod. It's a nod to her. It's a nod to using the resources we do have to create anew. And I think we're made to create. You know what I mean?
There are a ton of coffee shops.
Yes.
There are tons of places to do this. There are a ton of reasons to leave Memphis. There's a ton of reasons to stay. Why Memphis? Why here? Why now? Why is it not enough to just go to the coffee shop? Why do you have to own it?
That's a really good question.
It's several questions.
It's so many questions, and each question is layered. So I like to describe Memphis as a slightly antisocial but very creative, beautiful girl who knows her worth but also gets insecure sometimes and needs to be reminded that she cold with it.
Yeah.
That she cold with it, you know what I mean? And I relate to Memphis a lot in that way because I feel like a lot of those things are true of me at times.
You that girl, Memphis.
You that
girl.
You that girl. I mean, you're that girl. To quote Beyonce.
That girl knows that she's so fine.
How many songs have that girl in it?
You can do that. That's us singing back and forth.
It's another podcast. But no, I think Memphis deserves it. I think Memphis deserves goodness, and Memphis deserves to be known for something other than fill in the blank of what people know Memphis for that's terrible. We're known for great things like our food and our music, and that's about it. And I would love to see Memphis on the map for the things that we actually do create. And we create
so much
innovators. You know, I mean, if nothing else, we make people who innovate. And and people who leave, I mean, I hate it. People leave Memphis and go and take these brilliant ideas. You know what I mean? Memphis deserves a chance, and not even it's more than a chance. Even like Memphis has put in the work. Like Memphis, I feel like Memphis has been doing, and people in Memphis and systems and organizations have been here since the beginning that are saying, give us more. We want more. We want we want what you have to offer.
And why do you have to own the coffee shop?
If you don't, someone else will. And if we're talking physical spaces, it's important for us to own our own spaces, period. To pass down, we are the ones who write the narrative that's passed in that space. And so for the physical space, it's important to own it. But when you walk in, I remember I had a meeting, or he wanted to have a meeting on the spot. And he told me, he was like, yeah, come over here, you can sit down. In my coffee shop. In my own coffee shop.
You can sit down.
You can sit down here.
I thought the meeting was somewhere else at his place.
I think he did too. And I stood there. I said, go ahead. What did you need? What we're not doing.
That's where I stepped in. Let me tell you why that's not okay.
I said, what did you need? go ahead, start now. Because in that, right, that's an illustration of owning your own space. I think something I have learned from our history is we have to be the ones to set those standards. So if we're not owning it, somebody else is setting the standards.
One last question. What does it mean to you to own the room?
For me, to own the room is to be able to authentically show up, but in a way that demands and commands respect and leave space for people to feel free to do the same.
Yes. I approve this message.
Tied up in a bow.
Renata, this is such a fun conversation with you.
Is.
It's a fun conversation. It's a challenging conversation. It's a real conversation. I would love to have more of these with you. Thank you so much for joining us on Own the Room. How can people find you?
Yes.
Follow Coffee Black.
We are. Yeah, we're Coffee Black on all platforms. CX FFEE. FFEE Black. People forget the extra F sometimes. Okay. Coffee Black. So we're Coffee Black. Coffeeblack.com. I'm Mrs. Coffee Black on Instagram. That's everywhere you can find us. WeFunder, if you want to invest,
still do that.
Let us know, or invest at coffeeblack.com. We got all the platforms.
Okay, I'm about to go have me some Coffee Black now. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, if you enjoyed that episode, I hope you did. Share it with somebody else. Don't keep it to yourself. Like, comment, subscribe, leave a review, all the things. And if you want to keep up with how you can own your own room, check out the show notes for more. I hope to see you next time.